getting started with a personal brand or even just a brand in general, what advice can you give somebody who has no audience?
We have to start. You get to choose. Where do I want to start? What does that look like for me? Well, if you're going to be online, you can have a LinkedIn profile, which is obviously what I would recommend to any person that's a career professional with over 1 billion people on the platform. I would start tagging in the companies you've worked for, all opportunities to start getting that audience.
And I just spoke at an event in Seattle a couple weeks ago. Someone came up to me afterwards at the bar and we were just chatting. He said, I was just talking to this fellow over here. And he asked me, is Kevin authentic? Because he seems like a really good guy, but there's that question because there's so much, like you said, BS marketing and so much out there. He wanted to just double check to make sure, he wasn't being led down a path or something. That was in person. So how do you overcome that in a digital space, that authenticity and that trust around building your personal or your business brand?
You're watching Marketing Misfits with Norm Farrar and Kevin King.
The beard guy, Mr. Farrar, how are you, man? How you doing?
Hey, Mr. Mafioso with those glasses. You look like the guy from Sopranos,
Do I? Hey, I'm trying to be like the cool kids, We got some little thick glasses here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's part of the branding. It's all part of the branding, That personal branding. I get, wearing the right glasses, it changes the mood, it changes the look, and changes how people just. It's like it's like a beard, Norm. It's like a beard. Isn't that beard? You created that as part of a personal branding, as a deliberate move, right?
Yep, 100%.
Like 10 years ago, or almost, or something around that. Yep. And now you even have with your other podcasts, you're calling the nickname of the fanboys and girls is Beardos, even if they don't have a beard.
Beardos, Beard Nation.
Beard Nation. So that personal branding is something that is huge. And that's what we're going to be, I think, talking about today. We are going to be talking about with our guest today, who's one of the top personal branding people out there. I mean, she's crushed it with companies like Microsoft and with a company called Standout Authority. And in today's world, personal branding is more important than ever. And you know why that is, Norm?
Why is that, Kev?
It's because of AI and AEO. That thing that Dragonfish does. It helps people with AEO now getting recognized in answer engines like Perplexity and ChatGPT and Gemini. A personal brand is critical. I remember we had Cassim on the podcast back in the summer, and he was talking about how every company needs to have, not even a person, but also every company needs to basically have a personal brand. And I think we're going to learn something today about how to do that from our guest.
Yeah, but before that, I'm still thinking about getting you for your next birthday. Your next birthday, I'm going to be with you. I already know we'll be at the Big Smoke. But how about a 1980s mafioso tracksuit?
And that was good. Give me a bright color.
Not red.
Make sure it's high, high on my, so you can see my socks and stuff. So that would be perfect.
And Birkenstocks. Perfect.
And Birkenstock.
All right. Okay.
If you see me wearing that in a mafia suit, you need to run the other way.
All right. So on that note, let's bring in Rachel.
Let's do it.
Okay. Hey, Rachel.
Hey guys.
Hi, Rachel. How you doing?
Great. I'm wearing Birkenstocks. Is that okay?
Oh, you're okay. It's just me. It's my personal branding. I don't want nobody seeing my toes,
Yes, I appreciate that. Nobody wants some ugly toes. Nobody wants that.
I'm one of those guys that never had a petty mani in my life, and I wasn't against it, but my ex-wife, one of the first trips we took, it's one of the first times I'd met her, actually. I'd met her, and then we took a trip together. And we were in Brazil, and I was wearing some sort of sandals to the beach, and she's saying, we're going to the nail place right now, and you're getting this fixed, because I'm not looking at that. I'm like, okay. And so now I get regular, it's part of my branding, Norm. I get regular mani and pedis.
I love that. It's so manly of you.
So Rachel, how you? It's good to see you. We had, I think it's your husband, right? Has been on the podcast.
Yes, Joshua B. Lee, thus the Rachel B. Lee.
Ah.
So is that an intentional B. Lee, or is that just the way it worked out?
It's the way it worked out, actually. Yeah. So my maiden name is Rachel Bronstein. And when I got married, I moved my last name to my middle name. So I didn't want to lose that part of myself. And it happened to be this B. Lee thing. So it's, serendipitous, whatever you want to say. And so now we're the B. Lees, and it's really supportive for brand building. And we say the family all the time. So, hey, just meant to be.
So when y'all check into a hotel as a couple, they say, who are you? What's your name? You say, we be the B. Lees.
Yes, definitely.
So Rachel, what's your claim to tell us a little bit about yourself? I saw a little bit about you on the website, and Josh talked highly of you, and he said you're just like this amazing person that's like crushing it on everything. So what is your story?
Well, thank you. I like to say that I love people, and I've always really been inspired by how do I bring value to another human in whatever form that takes. I've always loved to be an educator and be in front of the stage kind of a thing as well. Since I was a kid, I've always been a strong communicator, and that manifested into business and then as a marketer, because marketing lets me connect with real people. And the best marketers are highly focused on who they're actually trying to attract and why, and they have a mission and a purpose, and they're doing that consistently and really well. And so my career spanned working at an agency with big consumer product goods, like Axe body spray. I worked on Unilever accounts a bunch early on in my career, and then came to Austin originally to get my MBA. So unlike Josh, who's the serial entrepreneur and like really hated school, I loved college and went twice, as Josh likes to make me, to tell me you liked so much, you went twice. And yes, I love it. I did my undergrad at Madison, Wisconsin. So I'm a Badger and a Longhorn. And
does that count though? Does the MBA from UT count?
As what?
I've heard that people that go to UT, it's just like it doesn't count because you have to go to A&M for it to actually count.
Ooh, wait, are you an A&M person? Wait a minute.
Well, they do call. I don't know. You may be the exception because I see in some of your stuff they call you a Ladyboss. But I always thought that what do they call the joke is always like, what do you call someone that graduates from A&M? And the word is it's boss. So maybe you're okay then. Maybe you're okay.
Okay, I didn't know this is where we were going with that. Got it. Well, here's the thing, guys. I'm not a Texan. I'm a Californian. Like I grew up in LA, so this like battle between A&M and a lot of the Texas juiciness, like I didn't grow up with that. I'm now into it a lot more, especially now living in Austin for a decade. But like in all fairness, I kind of stay on the edges of these debates, but I love being a Longhorn. And it was in that journey that I met Josh, actually. Not that he was getting his MBA, but he was out and about partying in Austin, and I was as well. And we met at a bar, surprisingly so. I think it's hard to do these days. He had his top knot at the time, and he was like very sexy. And I was with a group, and he asked if we wanted fireball shots, and that's how our love started.
That's how I met Kevin.
That just sounds like the same story. Back when I had hair, right?
Yeah. Well, you both have like the same glasses. So it really was love at first sight. Like you both have bald heads.
I don't have a beard though. No. UT's a good school. I'm an Aggie, so I love it. I love living in Austin. When they don't do well, I love listening to the radio and listening to everybody cry. So I grew up here, so I was just giving you a hard time. That's great. But so please continue on. So you got your MBA.
Yeah,
from
so I got the MBA, and that experience, I wanted to go corporate. I wanted to be at the big brand, and I landed not just at a big brand. I landed in tech at Microsoft. And so I took a pretty big 180 in my career. I wasn't doing Axe body spray, cool campaigns with, music artists. I was thinking about channel marketing, B2B, partner ecosystem, like much more traditional. And it was such a great learning of the tech world and software and what it is to scale. Because what Microsoft does and these big companies is scale. Everything is about that. And I did all sorts of things at Microsoft. And then I moved back to Austin for Josh. So he had 2 kids and there was no way he could leave. And we were doing long distance actually, and negotiated my way into coming back to Austin with Microsoft. And we got married. And then I was at Gartner, so another multi-billion-dollar company, but IT research and consulting. And then I had this like epiphany in the midst of all of it. I think Josh and that entrepreneurial bug had always been in me. And during the great, reevaluation, the great, whatever you want to call it, of COVID, I decided that, I think I want to leave the corporate walls and be able to share my voice. I was always great at branding and marketing. And I wanted to do that more for myself. And I want to be closer to the actual people, because I just felt inside the big company, you get so far away from the customer and you're just caught a lot of times in the bureaucracy of what you're doing. And that's in 2021. I left corporate, left all those things to work with my husband. And no, I mean, it was hard. Actually, the first few years was particularly hard because we're both very outspoken, want to be on stage kind of people. But we together had a similar vision that it's all about the people. It's all about human to human. It's all about we're so tired of the BS marketing that's out there, which especially over the last couple of years, because of COVID, because of remote work, because of all of the changes that have happened into our system, we've seen, I think, the BS marketing so exponentially higher in some ways with social media. A lot of great and a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of spamming, a lot of selling. And that's very much we're X-nay, that's not our jam. We are all about how do we bring humanity together and doing, good marketing about people and authenticity.
Hey, Norm, you'll love this, man. I talked to a seller the other day doing $50K a month. But when I asked them what their actual profit was, they just kind of stared at me.
Are you serious? That's kind of like driving blindfolded.
Exactly, man. I told them, you got to check out Seller Board, this cool profit tool that's built just for Amazon sellers. It tracks everything like fees, PPC, refunds, promos, even changing COGS during using FIFO.
Aha, but does it do FBM shipping costs too?
Sure does. That way you can keep your Q4 chaos totally under control and know your numbers, because not only does it do that, but it makes your PPC bids, it forecasts inventory, it sends review requests, and even helps you get reimbursements from Amazon.
Now that's like having a CFO in your back pocket.
You know what? It's just $15 a month. But you got to go to sellerboard.com/misfits, sellerboard.com/misfits. And if you do that, they'll even throw in a free 2-month trial.
So you want me to say, go to sellerboard.com/misfits and get your numbers straight before your accountant loses it?
Exactly.
All right. So what are, I always found it interesting, people who work with their spouses. So is it their yin and a yang? Are you fairly similar? How do you cope?
Yeah, it's funny. We did a podcast. So we launched our podcast and YouTube channel, Humanize Your Brand. Finally, we're really excited. We just did an episode on that, Norm. And Josh and I are quite yin and yang, actually. And we've discovered that when you start working with your spouse and you're running a company, you kind of need to figure out what the fudge you're doing and how do we have clear roles and responsibilities and get to be creative and in our superpowers without killing each other. And so we are quite yin yang in pretty much every way. And so the more, for instance, Josh is a projector and he's he likes to do the big ideas, he's always looking at the future and in ChatGPT and going crazy 20 feet, 20,000 foot deep. And I'm more of that strategy. How do we strategize and take that vision? And now we have a big strategy and make that happen, from like cost analysis to team to marketing. And the more we've learned what we're really good at and stayed in each other's lanes, the more successful we've become.
That's that MBA in corporate world. That's influencing that. When you say BS marketing, can you give me an example of what you mean by that? Just so for the listeners, so they understand what all this BS marketing means. Like,
I mean, I think one of the easiest ways is, for LinkedIn, when we get those messages, hey, Rachel B, I'm a personal branding expert, and you look like you really need support with your LinkedIn page. I'd love to talk to you. How many of us have gotten those connection requests, right? Probably have a couple in there today. We get that on Instagram too, right? How many of those like spammy ones on Instagram, and they're saying, I want to get you featured in Entrepreneur Magazine. You're amazing, right? And it's only $500 a month. Like, that is just that's not marketing. That's not understanding somebody. You have obviously no idea what I do when you're reaching out to me. So to me, that's BS marketing. That's people doing mass marketing and automation and hoping that they're trying to get that 1, 2, 3% or whatever conversion. But what did you lose in the process? And that model, I think, is really, really going to take a massive shift with what we're seeing and experiencing with AI and quantum and machine learning and all these things.
Yeah, they just go right in my trash bin. As soon as I see an automated one, it's, I'd like to connect. We have certain people are in common. Okay, bang.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's the tricky part, where it's like, we want to make those connections, especially in a place like LinkedIn. We connect. It is a networking tool. I mean, this is real life networking, just online, like as if you were at an event or whatever. So if you're going to go up to somebody's table at an event, are you going to go say hi and introduce yourself and be like, hi, I'm Rachel B. I'd love to work with you.
Yeah,
and I have no idea, you would never do that in real life. Like, you would never. You would go up to somebody, maybe you say, man, that beard is killer, Norm. Like, you would compliment them. I need to work with you in that beard. No, but maybe after like a couple drinks, or like, maybe, we got to know each other. But for some reason, online and social media, people hide behind these facades, and it's happening in a really nasty way. We obviously see that in politics, and we're seeing that it's just gross. And so I think we need to go back to, if I was seeing somebody in real life, how would I behave? What would I do? And that's why we focus on appreciation. We first try to find some commonality and find a way into a conversation with somebody online before we ever talk about anything more, right? About what we do.
There's another form of media out there, just in TV advertisements, that since COVID have been driving me crazy. And these are the ones, and I'm sure you've seen the same commercial I'm going to talk about. I won't mention the brand, but it's not on the personal side. It's not what we were just talking about, but it's on the influencer side. When companies like this one car glass company, I'll just say that, comes out and tries to pull off an influencer commercial, and it's absolutely horrible. But I hate how they're injecting now so much influencer-based type of media that is just, it's just scripted.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not authentic. Yeah. So how do you be authentic as a brand? Speaking of that, I mean, what is the key to actually being authentic in a digital world? Because it's difficult. It can be difficult. And I had someone. I just spoke at an event in Seattle a couple of weeks ago, and at that event, I did a talk, and then someone came up to me afterwards at the bar, and we were just chatting. He said, "Yeah, I was just talking to this fellow over here," and he asked me, "Is Kevin authentic?" I think he is, but is he authentic? Because he seems like a really good guy, but there's that question because there's so much, like you said, BS marketing and so much out there. This guy thought I was, but he wanted to just double check to make sure, he wasn't being led down a path or something. And the guy, of course, confirmed it. No, he's the real deal or whatever. But and he didn't know me. But that was in person. So how do you overcome that in a digital space? That authenticity and that trust around building your personal or your business brand?
Yeah, well, first of all, we've launched Humanize in terms of a company, and that's exactly the question that we're solving for from a product standpoint. It's all I can say on that. But this exact question is something that Josh and I are working on and having a tool to help us assess quantitatively. How do we actually measure somebody's trust and authenticity? Now, because it is so difficult, right? But some of the things that you immediately did, right? Or this person, what did they do? They went to somebody else that they trusted and were looking for that vouching for you.
Right.
Right. And so that's essentially what a LinkedIn recommendation is. That's essentially, right, what a testimonial is, video, all these things, case studies, podcasts, right? These are marketing. A podcast is a great way for somebody to listen to you and like feel like they're sitting on the couch with you and can get a feel for who you are. So we have to work a lot harder online. But those are some of the ways that we start to show our authenticity. Also, just video in general, right? I think the reason why everything's about video and we've seen just such a giant uptick in that is because of the BS meter has, BS meter super high. Everybody we think is fake and all these things. So we're like, well, if we put you on video, then I can see how you talk. I can see if you're scripted or not. And that's why we're seeing such a growth of video on LinkedIn, for instance, right? That's been a big push on LinkedIn over the last year. Other platforms, that's been a thing for many years. And so I think the more that we can, for me, I'll go on video without makeup. I did a post the other day around like the mental load, and it was me, I was in a total breakdown, overwhelmed state, and I was just feeling that emotion of this overwhelm. And in this like picture, if you go into my Instagram or my LinkedIn, you'll see it. I was thinking of Rachel's brain and mapping out all of the swarming in my brain. And so I drew it. I just took that moment of inspiration and thinking this could be another person out there. And I drew it out. And then I sent it to Patty, who's on our team. She's my girl. And I said, this is how I feel today. I'm so overwhelmed. And then she was like, I feel this. And we did these 3 posts of my picture, this mental mode, and then her in this moment also feeling overwhelmed. And we did a post about it. And it has been receiving so much engagement. Like, it's incredible because it was so raw, right? It was so raw. And it felt so relatable. So online, if we want people to think that we're authentic, we really need to peel back the curtain as much as possible and show these raw, vulnerable moments in balance with the things that are going to build you actual credibility, right? Because my business is not about coaching you through the mental load. I'm not a therapist. I don't have a coaching business. That's not my business model. I did that post as a way to build resonance, right? And connection, and to kind of tie it back to who I am. If I did posts like that all the time, though, you would have absolutely no idea who I am. And so when we talk about building a brand, which building a personal brand and a company brand are a little different, similar but different, we have to still hit what is the functional benefit? Why would I want to work with you? I mean, after all, that's what marketing is. Our job, right, is to reach our ideal audience, bring value so that we can bring our product or service to them, which hopefully is solving a pain point that they're having. I mean, that's what we're doing here, right? That's what capitalism is. I mean, that's what business is.
Hey, Norm, do you know any sellers out there that are just burned out doing this e-com game?
I know a lot of people that have talked to us, when we go to events. And it's not only that, they don't know where to start.
Who would you recommend they talk to?
The first one that comes to mind is Quiet Light Brokerage. And here's why. They're going to build you up. They're going to understand your company. And at the end of the day, you're going to know how to maximize your valuation. So the very first thing you need to do is go and get your free confidential valuation at quietlight.com. They're going to ask a couple of questions. You're going to meet up. It's one-on-one with somebody over there. And then, let the games begin.
Awesome. What was that website again?
It's quietlight.com.
Awesome. I'm going to head over there.
So can we stay on the personal brand for a second? You were just talking about this Instagram message that you had out there. What about, can you break your brand by doing that? So if you're coming out here as for example, if I come out and I'm doing some form of video and I'm putting it out there and people are expecting this type of media, and it's these 60 to 3 minute segments, which I don't do a lot of, but I'm just kind of wondering, all of a sudden now you're getting a bit more vulnerable, like you were just talking about. Now I'm kind of hitting a different persona, aren't I? Should I stick with the persona that, hey, here's this guy that has 1 to 3 minute clips. He does this. He talks about this topic, this niche. And then all of a sudden I'm talking about, let's say, mental health. Is that breaking your brand? I'm talking on a personal note.
Well, what do you think, Norm?
Well,
are you asking?
Part of me says people would want to. Yeah, part of me says, yeah, absolutely, people would want to see that side. But then the other part of me says, okay, but how much? Or do you do multiple types of? All of a sudden, you're you got multiple personalities. You got multiple personas that you're showing out there, and I don't know if that's breaking your brand. I can see a little bit, if you're having a bad day and you want to show, or if Amazon's causing you trouble, oh, they just suspended my account. I'm so depressed, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's a bit more vulnerable. But if you're constantly doing it, I'm just not sure about that.
Well, I agree with you on that. Yeah. I mean, I think this is so if we're going to just talk about branding, let's just back up, right?
Yep.
And so what is too much? When you share, but we can't answer that question until we've really understood what branding is, right? And so to me, branding is about the experience that somebody feels when working or seeing you as a product or service, right? It's the DNA of that company. Now, if it's a personal brand, it's your DNA, right? It's you. And so our job when we're thinking about brand identity work is to make sure that it's super clear on what's the vision. Let's say it's a company. What is the vision of this company? Our vision, mission, our vision versus mission can be a little distinct, but let's say it's Microsoft, right? To empower every person, every organization on the planet to achieve more. And I know that, by the way, as do many Microsofties, current and alumni, because it's hit over the head, right? When Satya Nadella became CEO. So if you take that mission vision, then you have to build your value proposition. And your value proposition is that statement that says, what do you do? Who do you serve? And how do you do it differently than somebody else? What's the competitive set? Right? And so we have to have that laid out really clearly. Obviously for Microsoft, right, they're supporting primarily a lot of enterprise customers, let's say, a lot of enterprise businesses, software businesses. They have with software solutions across manufacturing, their value proposition looks something like that. Now, once we have that branding in our mind and it's super clear on what we do, who we serve, and why we do it, then we think about the marketing strategy that goes behind it. How are we going to take that message and get it out to a specific audience so that first they understand what we do, right? And then they understand so much so that they want to buy from us. Now, what's been happening, like when you go to college, let's say, or you're learning traditional marketing and branding, it's like, and you guys are marketers, you think about the typical marketing funnel, right? You have to build your top of the funnel, build awareness, middle of the funnel, they're starting to consider you, bottom of the funnel, they're hopefully there to purchase, right? You're really driving that conversion. But this funnel is not really that linear anymore, especially when we're talking about business to business buying, which I'm pretty sure you're working with other businesses, right? Even if it's the business stuff. Yeah, like what you do. And we are too. Like our clients are other organizations, other business owners, et cetera. So we're in the B2B, even though we believe in human to human, but we're in the B2B buying cycle. It's not really linear. It's like somebody might hear about you middle of the funnel because of the friend. So they're pretty warm. Then they go talk to somebody else and they have I have no budget. So 6 months happening. So then they have to go back into the awareness stage and then they're about to purchase and then everything gets pulled. And so it's like really, really messy with a lot of people involved in that. So then the question begs like, okay, marketing, I need to get in front of this audience. Back to like, let's go back into your question around like, how much is too much, right? Well, to remain top of mind in a buying cycle that is currently taking 6 months to 2 years, unless, you're doing e-commerce, right? You're selling the shoes and it's consumer and it's like, I see these pair of shoes, I'm going to buy it on Instagram right now. That could be, that's a much faster buying cycle. We need to stay relevant for a really long time. And we need to be influencing many people that are involved in this decision. So that vulnerability post ensures that we're resonating for a long time. But if I sat there and talked about how annoyed I was at Amazon, that is like the BS that people put all over Facebook. And you're like, I don't want to hear about you ranting. I can't stand all the ranting. I don't think that's what our job is as marketers. Now, consumers might rant. Your job as a marketer would be to see what they're saying and find a way in to get those people into your funnel, right? So, and that's where there's interesting like Reddit and Quora, and there's interesting forums where we can be where the consumers are and attach our brand. So I think that like what vulnerability from the humans behind the business, which is personal branding, allows us is this constant connection and resonance that is seemingly much more difficult to create in a world that's like content, content is a commodity. The buying decision is not linear anymore. And so we got to find a lot more ways into their minds over a long period of time.
There's a lot of personal branding stories because one of the reasons I asked that is I speak at a lot of events, and last year I added, before I would do a technical tactical talk on marketing or something, I would add about I added for like 4 talks, a 15-minute section at the beginning where I told 3 stories about my divorce, about my buddy being found dead after 3 weeks on his couch, and about a guy that lives 1 floor down from me jumping from the roof with tinfoil on his head. And then I tied that back in to the 4 burner theory, the 4 oven burners, about being an entrepreneur and about you can only have health, family, friends, and and all these burners. You can't have them all on. And then I went on into it, and that as a branding was deliberate. But I had more comments on that come up after me, and more people, because it created empathy and it created a movement and an emotional connection with the audience. And then everything I said after that resonated even more, and they sat with more attention. So that's why I'm saying, is it story, or is it being, and not trying to be somebody else? I know there's like McCall Jones. I don't know if you know McCall Jones. She spoke at one of my events, and she does charisma hacking. And she says there's like, I forget the exact number, like 52 personality types, or something like that. And a lot of people try to be someone they're not. They try to like go on and be Mr. Beast, or they try to go on and be Tom Cruise, or they try to be, whatever it is. And she's like, no, stop that. That's not going to work. You got to figure out what you are and come across that way, and you'll be more authentic and real, and your branding will be better. So that's why I'm asking about, is story an important part of branding?
It's everything.
Yeah, that's why I knew the answer to that. I just wanted you to talk about.
Yes. Yes. Storytelling is everything in marketing, period. I mean, and definitely in branding, even once you get your brand identity and stuff together, you look at, like, for instance, I think about like big branding and storytelling. Like, I think the Super Bowl ads, right? If you're in America, I don't know what where your audience, but even if you're not, like, you look at these big ads at the big football games across the world, like, they're great examples. Google, for instance, does a great job. They're probably the best brand storytellers, and they hit that with big commercial spots. I think about that as, like, here's the epicenter of what we talk about. We have a brand message. How are we going to resonate with our audience? And how are we going to tie actually the product into that spot, right? Or whatever. And you'll always see, if you ever seen those commercials with Google, right? And it's like somebody's across the world and they're searching for something. Their, like, long lost friend is across the other world and they're Google searching, right? And this whole story comes together where they actually.
Yeah, there's the one. I use an example in one of my talks, the psychology of marketing, and it's the example. It's exactly that someone's typing on Google. It's like trip to Paris or something like that, and then they end up meeting somebody in cafes near this, and it evolves along.
Yes.
So at the very end, it's like the search is baby cribs. Or
Yes.
something like that. It's where to get married, then it's baby cribs. It's very emotional. It brings a little tear to your eye, but it's very well done. If you haven't seen that commercial, those of you listening, I don't know if you've seen it. You saw my presentation, I think, Norm, on that. That's a very, very good emotional commercial and branding commercial.
Yeah, exactly. And you know why? Because, I mean, that's how our brain works. Like, how we remember things is through stories. It's like when you're trying to, Jim Quick, and there's a lot of these brainiac kind of ways to remember names. You go to an event. How do you remember everybody's names? Well, you want to come up with something wacky in your head. So it's a little story so you can remember them. It's just how our brain works. And that's what's amazing about marketing, is that it is very much a neuroscience and psychological conversation. And so the best brand marketers and the best marketers are those that understand who their audience is, understand what they need and want, and then resonate by building that emotional resonance through stories and human-centered storytelling. Kevin, that's what we say a lot at Standout Authority, because you can tell a lot of stories, but it might not have humans. It might not have the real customers in that story. But when you talk about company brand marketing, you most certainly want the real customers, the real people in that storytelling. And then from a personal brand perspective, which now, personal brands are businesses, that's a big question people will come with. It's like, do I focus on Rachel B. Lee, or do I focus on Standout Authority? And then some people have built, multi-million-dollar businesses, like, Gabby Bernstein, for instance, right? That's it. That's the business. It's Gabby. And we can talk about a lot of people that have really built giant businesses from their personal brand. The reason they're able to make that choice is because they're great storytellers. They're bringing in their own experiences. It's repelling people that are like, this is not my jam. This girl doesn't get me, which, by the way, Norm, if somebody didn't like seeing my mental load, I really hope that they would unfollow me and just like, this isn't the kind of shit that I want to see. And I'm cool with that. Like, I hope that you unfollow me. And in fact, more recently I've been posting, stuff about my Jewish culture, and that feels risky, frankly, because of what we are experiencing as Jewish people. But I don't care. I'm like, if you're a bigot, let's say, and you're a closet, person, cool. I really hope that you unfollow me and you stay the fuck away from me, in fact. So I think that now more than ever before, and there's something I was thinking about, the 52 personalities. Is that what you were saying, Kevin?
Yeah, it's called charisma hacking.
So with ChatGPT and all of the LLMs, everybody's able to really easily get a brand persona and like have one of these personalities. You could easily say, right, you have no experience, but I really like Kevin King. you are Kevin King from the Marketing Misfits, right? And I need you to write me 10 LinkedIn posts that are 250 words. Like you could go in, it's going to pull in all your podcasts and boom, now I'm Kevin.
Are you looking to quickly boost new Amazon product launches or scale up existing listings to reach first page positioning? The influencer platform Stack Influence can help.
That's right. Stack Influence pushes high volume external traffic, sales straight to Amazon listings using micro influencers that you only have to pay with your products.
They've helped up-and-coming brands like Magic Spoon compete with Cheerios for top category positioning, while also helping Fortune 500 brands like Unilever launch their new products.
Right now is one of the best times to get started with Stack Influence. You can sign up at stackinfluence.com or click the link in this video down in the description or notes below and mention Misfits, that's MISFITS, to get 10% off your first campaign. stackinfluence.com.
So first, that dilutes your brand, right, Kevin? Mm-hmm. Especially if you're not doing the work to build your own personal brand, the LLM's just going to eat you away, and now you sound like everybody else. But more than anything, everybody's starting to sound like everybody else because nobody's doing the prior work, which is what we do, and say, who are you? Let's figure out your brand. Let's bring in those stories, the things that only you uniquely could talk about. Let's train the AI to have all of that and have it continuously learning these stories so that I might like Kevin and I could say, I like the voice of Kevin, but remember, I've told you all these stories about me, like here are things that I like and don't like. Let's make those posts now. And so most people are not doing that work, which is why a lot of content is even more shiny than ever before.
Don't you as a brand want to own a word? Like James Clear basically owns the word habits. For example, Norm, in the space that we're in, he's the beard is part of his identity and his branding. For me, it's probably hacks or something because I do a lot of teach people a lot of quick little tricks and hacks. Is that something that's important when it comes to personal branding to actually own a phrase or a word or something?
I mean, it's a nice goal. I don't think that's necessary. I think that people are going to associate you with a couple words because people only remember so much at a time. So what matters to me more than me being the hack person or that feeling like it's a branded thing is for somebody to know Rachel's badass at brand marketing, LinkedIn, she's building product, go to her for that. I don't need you. I don't branding Ladyboss, great. And I think that's, again, goal, great. But for most people, especially small businesses, and we're talking to a couple hundred or 1,000 people if we're lucky, right? I most want my clients and the people that follow me to be known for something they do more than anything. Because even hacks, what does that mean? You're going to give me great, you're going to give me quick hacks with marketing. And so I'm going to come to you for hacks. Now what?
Yeah, no, I was just saying that you want to, maybe it's not just, you're known for you're known as the branding lady boss, or you're known as this, or you're known, it may not be just a word, but it's a phrase. You're something, that people identify with you for. That's you're the go-to,
Yeah.
Amazon, part of Amazon's brand is, if you want it overnight, it's going to be there at the lowest price. All the stuff you see on the trucks and everything, all that they always do. That's where you go if you want that. And so that's part of a brand, though. If that's what you're looking for, where to go and trying to establish that either as a business or a person. That should be part of your branding objective.
I almost look at it a different way, where you want to become the authority, whatever it is. If you're in Amazon, you're the authority. You're building a moat around your brand you could have that USP, whatever that would be, that word, but becoming an authority around certain areas, building a moat around that. I think that's what would would
Well, that's
work.
what that does. When you own a word or whatever, you are the authority. You're the go-to for that. Yeah, it's another way. It's a better way of saying it, Norm. So is that what is your process? You have something called Work Your Brand, or what is that?
Yeah. So Work Your Brand is I have my newsletter, which is the Work Your Brand. And that kind of came from this idea of like, let's not just work it, WORK, but let's work it. Let's effing do this. Let's put ourselves out there. Let's have a message and really empower people. And so when people come on as done for you clients, that is the opportunity to work on your personal brand together one-on-one with me, that narrative, develop your content strategy. And then we're actually creating, writing, designing all your content and executing on LinkedIn. So that's from like a services standpoint that we do. But for me, the vision of Work Your Brand is so much around understanding everything that we're talking about here today, right? Who is our audience? How do we ensure that people understand what we do? We're the authority, we're the go-to subject matter expert. How do we build that vulnerability and authenticity in what we do as well? And so to me, that kind of captures the whole idea for Standout.
What are some mistakes people are making with their personal brand or even their corporate brand when they're trying to build it?
Well, I don't actually think a lot of people are very intentional with building their personal brand. So I think the biggest mistake people do is, they look at their LinkedIn profile as a resume, and they look at themselves as a resume, frankly. And that's not what the story is, right? And so when I talk to people or do presentations, I say, first of all, what do you think the definition of a personal brand is?
I think it's probably the essence of the person, what you're trying to represent. I don't know. Probably that. I think I think that's what it is. Just the essence of who you are and what you're trying to portray.
It's a feeling. It's a feeling that people have towards you, and what you represent. That they either may believe in or don't believe in. It's that empathy, that emotional connection. That it's an authority. It's trust. It's a bunch of those things all wrapped up into one. But it's also to help people reconfirm their own personal identity as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that both of you hit it in your own ways. The way that I would describe it is it's how others see you. So that's kind of initially what you were saying, Kevin, right? How are other people feeling? What is, Jeff Bezos, what people say about me when I'm not in the room? A lot of times when I ask, what is your personal brand to groups, they'll say it's my reputation. So how others see you is really important. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you, it doesn't matter what people think about you. That's best. And I wouldn't be a branding lady boss that's worked with the top companies in the world if I'd be lying to you. How other people perceive you matters. And it matters now more than ever. In fact, my newsletter that went out today was about free speech in the digital age. It's nice and spicy. So highly suggest you subscribe and check that out. So what others say about you matters, and it matters a lot in the digital age, right? The other side, though, and I think that what most people are focused on is, how do people see me when I do talks with the women in tech, let's say, or employed professionals? It's all about like, I'm a professional and I'm a mom, but I don't know what to say. Well, I got this side hustle, but I don't know if I should tell anybody because my company might, all these kind of things, right? Because they're so worried about what everybody thinks. The other side is kind of what you were saying, Norm, is how do I see myself? And that innermost true version of who I am, the superpowers that I have, not that somebody told me I should be, right? Man, I so good at finance and I've been in this finance, and I'm just giving examples of people, but I feel horrible in it. I feel really disconnected. I want to be with my family and I hate this financial career. Well, then how you see yourself is really disconnected from how others see you. And so that's why you hear a lot of personal branding people will say, well, it's an inside job, because so often we're focused on what everybody else thinks and the journey that everybody else wants us to be on, which was a part of my story, right? Of getting an MBA and rising the corporate ladder and like, here I go. But I didn't feel like connected. Like there was that feeling in my tummy of just like, I think there's something more here. There's something that's off. So when we can bridge both of that together, how others see us and how we see ourselves, we're able to create that personal brand value proposition and that go-to feeling that just attracts abundantly everything that we want, not just, monetarily, but it feels really good. And that's how I feel with Standout Authority and being 4+ years now into this entrepreneurial journey. It's hard. It's definitely hard, like building businesses and 2, incomes coming in through business and raising 3 kids and health insurance. Like these are like being an entrepreneur or business owner is not an easy path at all. Like it's on your brain all the time. And I can go back to my why and how I feel and the ability to talk to y'all today, Marketing Misfits, and to say my message authentically without any shame, without anybody telling me. And I wouldn't exchange that for anything. And so for whoever is listening and whatever that means, everybody's personal brand, everybody's meaning is different. Doesn't mean you need to be an entrepreneur. Doesn't mean you have to quit your job today. Doesn't mean you need to be a mother. Doesn't need to mean you need to be a father. Like whatever that is, the more we can kind of go back inwards and really figure out what's bringing passion and purpose and energy into our work and every day, the more our personal brand is going to really just ignite and more people are going to be attracted to it. And that's certainly what I've experienced and Josh has experienced too.
So getting started with a personal brand or even just a brand in general, what advice can you give somebody who has no audience? They're invisible.
Well, we all have an audience. Now, online, maybe you haven't started to establish that audience, right? But you're showing up to the softball games, you're at work, you're on with your clients, you're going to the grocery store, right? All these people are our audience. And so how I show up at the softball game or I show up at Ava's school matters, right? This is part of my community. How do I take those offline audience conversations and bring them to online, right? So we have to start. You get to choose. Where do I want to start? What does that look like for me? Well, if you're going to be online, you're either going to have a website, which is kind of an evolving thing, as y'all know, with AEO and where SEO is going. But I think we're still going to be very much in a world of websites for a while. You can have a LinkedIn profile, which is obviously what I would recommend to any person that's a career professional with over 1 billion people on the platform. I would absolutely recommend a LinkedIn profile over a website, over a TikTok profile, over an Instagram, over a YouTube. I would get that LinkedIn profile on there. I would start tagging in the companies you've worked for, right? These are all opportunities to start getting that audience and start finding the people that you do know, because you just kind of start building those connections. So you got to rock your profile, which we're not going to go into like a deep rocking profile conversation, but that is where I would start. And I would really think about, we talked a lot, I think, here about like, what's that kind of tagline? What's that authority? How do you bring that to life? Well, on LinkedIn, you want that headline, 220 characters to land that message as best as possible, right, Kevin? So your hack idea, we wanted to be something around the I empower, I help, I educate, whatever it is. Who is it? I'm helping entrepreneurs. I'm helping business professionals. I'm helping C-level execs do what? What are you helping them do? I'm helping them with personal branding and content strategy, or I'm helping them develop software systems in healthcare, whatever it is. Why? So what is the why? They do X, the XYZ statement. So I help X, who, do Y, do X, Y, and then Z. What's the outcome? And so why are you doing it? What's the energy and what are they getting out of it? And so that's a great place to explain to people and start also getting visible from an SEO and algorithm statement.
One of the things that I've seen, and it doesn't drive me crazy, but sometimes a little bit uncomfortable, is when you have a business feed and you kind of feel the person's oversharing, like they just overstepped the boundary, to become unprofessional. And I don't know if you can help saying, where's that balance? Is it with your brand? Like you were just talking about putting out information about Jewish. And if somebody unsubscribes, that's great. That's what you want them to do. And I'm not sure if you're putting out information about that, or like for me, it might be, I'm just using this as an example, some health issues. I'm an old guy. I might get some health issues. And I start sharing that with my audience, and they might be just going, that's oversharing. You ever see that?
Do I see people oversharing? Is that?
Yeah, like, is there a balance, or is it, again, going back to what we were talking about a little earlier, with that persona and being vulnerable, but is there a point where you just overshare and now you're just shooting yourself in the foot and losing audience because they're uncomfortable?
Let me tell you, I really think the answer to this is it depends, because, Gen Z, Gen Alpha is vastly different than Boomer, above, Gen X.
You're saying old people?
Millennial, older people, vastly different, right? Like, to your point of, my mom has said this to me and Josh about some of the vulnerability we've shared with the challenges that we've had with the kids this year. And we haven't gone into super detail, but we've explained a couple of things around self-harm and different challenges. And she's like, don't share that too much. Like, you don't need to tell the world all these things. And sometimes I think that she maybe is right, but most of the time we're like, well, Mom, like, we're just expressing, like, it's amazing that when we give a little glimpse into the things that we're experiencing, how many people actually reach out and say, I went through this too. How can I support you? Like, it actually has really been beneficial and it's therapeutic on our side, but it's also making it less of a lonely feeling, because it can be very lonely to be going through these experiences. So, but there's a massive generational difference there. And then I'll talk to, our my bigger kids, 16 and 13, right? And Sky said, she listens to a lot of these things. And she's like, I want to hear about your business. Nobody cares about what you guys do. So she said to me and Josh, and she listens to everything. Josh, she's like, we don't care. We just want to hear the stories, and I'm just like, okay. So they don't, like, she doesn't give the shit. These kids will get millions of followers by, watching somebody play a video game. I mean, there's crazy stuff happening with Gen Z now on TikTok. It's like somebody's live. Have you seen that, right? They're like live for hours and you just like send them money. I mean, one of our clients, their kids made $20,000+. And you talk about oversharing. Okay, Norm, the video's up. They're just like doing their day. People are coming on and sending them money.
That's
wild,
crazy.
Right? It's wild, but that's what's happening. And this new generation is the people we're going to be marketing to. These are the people that are going to be buying. And so I think that this goes back into this whole conversation, right? Like, a big core piece of branding and marketing is who the heck are you talking to? And you really need to get more specific and nuanced. And by showcasing the personal brands, by showcasing the people behind the business, you start to get more and more nuanced. And you start to see, who's actually opening these emails? What's their profile look like? Oh, well, they're actually all entrepreneurs. Oh, they're all in healthcare. Oh, right? Like, you start to learn a lot more. And so I think the more open we can be, but within your own guardrails, in your business's guardrails, right? That's what matters.
Hey, Kevin King and Norm Farrar here. If you've been enjoying this episode of Marketing Misfits, thanks for listening this far. Continue listening. We got some more valuable stuff coming up. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast player, or if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, make sure you subscribe to our channel because you don't want to miss a single episode of the Marketing Misfits. Have you subscribed yet, Norm?
Well, this is an old guy alert. Should I subscribe to my own podcast?
Yeah, but what if you forget to show up one time and it's just me on here? You're not going to know what I say.
I'll buy you a beard and you can sit in my chair too. And you can go back and forth with one another. Yikes! But that being said, don't forget to subscribe, share it. Oh, and if you really like this content, somewhere up there's a banner. Click on it and you'll go to another episode of the Marketing Misfits.
Make sure you don't miss a single episode because you don't want to be like Norm.
Oh. What's the most impactful post you have ever made, and why did it resonate with people?
Well, there's two posts are coming to mind for me. One, what got picked up by the Washington Post. Somebody wrote an article about it, and her article was actually kind of around this, like, is LinkedIn starting to share too much, which is hilarious, right? And but it was me after my fourth canceled transfer with IVF. So I had embryos and I was trying to transfer the embryo. And nobody really talks about any of this journey. It kept getting canceled. It was a horrible process. It was really trying. And you think you're about to get pregnant, and every time it's like, no. And I came out and they had canceled it, and I was in the car and I was just bawling. And I took a picture. So you might say, Rachel, what the fuck are you taking a picture right now? Like, come on. But I took it because I knew, like, man, there's got to be so many women that have been sitting in this feeling, and how I feel right now is alone. And I'm just going to take this moment and capture it. So we did a post of the tears and the makeup and told this story around, and did it around Mental Health Awareness Month. And it got, picked up by Washington Post and really got a ton of engagement. So that was a big one. The other one, that my highest performing of 3 million plus impressions, is a video I did around Women's History Month. And I just kind of like laid it down of just like what women need, and we don't need more seats in the table. We don't need, like, here's what we need. And I just like said it in my Rachel direct way. And that went zoop, it really catapulted. And I think both of them are timely. So great performing content is brand aligned and authority driven, and also like the relevance and timeliness to the platform is very important.
All right. We're getting to the top of the hour, but we missed Kevin for a bit. Kevin, you got any other questions?
Yeah, it said it stopped recording, so I had to refresh. But no. So what do you think the biggest challenge is today when it comes to branding, to personal branding? Is it the BS? Is it AI is changing everything? Is it everybody, all what's going on in the world, and it's hard to get the trust? What is the biggest challenge that those listening may have to overcome, and if you have any tips for overcoming that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard to do personal branding for yourself. Like, it's so hard for us to see what others see. And so that's why with Standout Authority, we have our brand launch pad. We do this for people because it's hard to see these connective tissues, the fabric of your whole life, and tying it together and like pulling out these pieces of you. So I think it's really hard to do it for ourselves. That's number one. I think that part is what holds a lot of people back, because they're just like, I don't care. Like, I can't do this too much. And then they stop. Then the other side of it is now you have like ChatGPT, and you're just like, help me create content, right? It's like people that have no marketing experience, anything. And now they're like, tell me, they put in their bio, let's say, that they wrote for work or whatever. And it's like, here's some information about me. Now go make me posts. And so now all of a sudden they think that they understand personal branding and that they're doing really well. And then what happens is they get no engagement and everything is running really flat. And so there's a lot of frustration because they took kind of what seems to be an easy route, but it really didn't work. So those are like the two things that I see, along with there's just a lot of imposter syndrome. And it's not just a female thing. Okay, it's not just a female thing. I have clients that are incredibly running multi-million-dollar companies, big companies working with, millions, billions-dollar companies. And it's shocking at how they don't get the value that they bring. And so I think we're in an era where visibility is not given, it's earned. And we have to work harder for it. And so we get to put ourselves out there more, even if it feels really uncomfortable. And if you don't know where to start or how to do that, of course, me, and I'm sure you guys and there's a lot of people out there that can be supportive in that process.
Okay.
Norm, it's okay for you to keep wearing the Speedos to go pick up your kids at school. So that we got that assurance. So you're good. You're good. You don't have to change your ways.
All right. Well, and you can, not have to wear pants during these podcasts. Okay. So,
I mean, are you wearing pants now? Like, is there a Speedo?
Why do you think I keep my hands below the table, Norm? Come on now. I'm just kidding.
All right.
See, this is good behind the scenes content.
So, Rachel, we are at the top of the hour, which means we have one question. We always ask our misfits if they know a misfit.
Yes, Alex Catoni. Have you talked to her yet?
No.
We
haven't.
She's the best. Alex.
What's she do?
She's the founder and creator of Copy Posse. Supported over 500,000 copywriters. She has 100,000 followers on YouTube, and she's just an incredible human. So
I know of her. her. We've never had her on. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so if people want to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
Standoutauthority.com, LinkedIn, the Rachel B. Lee. As long as you got that B in there, you'll find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. Those are probably the two places I'm most active, and would love to hear from everybody.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thanks, Rachel, for coming on. It's been great getting to know you and chatting with you and getting some good advice on branding.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate being here.
Appreciate it.
All right, I'm going to remove you. Don't go away, Rachel. All right, there we go.
Yeah, so it's a challenge. I mean, a lot of people are afraid to get out there. They're afraid to go on camera. Like she said, video is a really good thing. And they're afraid to put themselves out there and be a little bit vulnerable. But like y'all are talking, there is a line that's drawn. But in a world of AI and with AEO, especially now emphasizing personal brand, it's like what she says. You do care about what other people think of you, and that's what what other people are saying socially, what other people are saying online. Is going to determine whether, especially if you're doing this B2B, whether you're recommended as the person or not. And it's super important.
I was talking to an entrepreneur, Andrea Lake. She was on my podcast, and just about what people think about you. Well, she was on The Apprentice, on Celebrity Apprentice, and she one of the things that she had to go through was a psychological evaluation because of the social media feedback that they'll get. You'll have your trolls and your haters, and then you'll have your likes. Can you handle it? So before you get onto the show, you've got to go through this process to make sure that you can handle this sort of stuff.
Oh, wow. That's cool. I didn't know they did that. That's actually smart. That's actually really
we should
smart.
get Andrea on. Anyways.
And this is great. So if you want to hear the companion to this, the other half of this episode, where we talk really about the branding side on LinkedIn, with Josh,
And the profiling, yeah.
and the profiling and everything. I don't know what episode number that is, but go to marketingmisfits.co, or you can look up Marketing Misfits on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this, and go back and look for that episode with Joshua. Or you can listen to any other episode too while you're at it, because we've got, I don't know, 90 or 100 of them there, all really, really good. Isn't that right, Norm?
I think so. Yeah, whatever you said. Yeah.
We're on the talk tickers too now.
We are.
Yep. We've had stuff go with like hundreds of thousands of views on the talk tickers.
Yeah, I can't believe it, but we're there. We've probably been, by this time, we'll probably be out there for about 4 months. So we're still new out there, but if you want to check us out. And one other thing, Kev, we've got a secondary YouTube channel, and it's all for the little snippets, 3 minutes and under. So if you're looking for just some gold from all these episodes, we always extract 2 or 3 snippets, put it on that one. That's at Marketing Misfits Clips on YouTube.
They call them nuggets, not right, Norm? Nuggets.
That's what they are.
Those are the nuggets. Yeah.
Nuggets.
Hey, if you like everything, be sure to like the channel, subscribe to the channel, and show up every Tuesday, because we release a new episode every single Tuesday. Until then, I'll see you next Tuesday, Norm.
See you later.
See ya.